My name's Kim, and this part I'm going to do exploration and colonization. The first part is Zheng traded at Guangzhou and Guangzhou in the Navy and sent 7 large expeditions to the Indian Ocean basin with the purpose of controlling foreign trade and an attempt to impress foreign peoples. Portuguese exploration focused on the European goal of expanding Christianity and commercial opportunities. The slave trade expanded in the 15th century. Guns and textiles were traded for gold and slaves. Thousands of slaves were delivered to Atlantic island plantations. In the Indian Ocean trade, the Portuguese searched for the sea route to Asian markets. Portuguese mariners dominated the trade between Europe and Asia in the 16th century. Christopher Columbus hoped to reach Asia by sailing west. His plan was rejected by the Portuguese king, but was sponsored by the king and queen of Spain. In 1492, he led 3 ships to Caribbean Sea, believing he was near Japan.
Hi, my name is Ellen. Today we're going to start with long distance trade. The travel patterns in Asia during the 1000 and 15,000 era included the transportation of luxury goods of high value on the Silk Roads. Bulky commodities traveled the sea lanes of the Indian Ocean. Trading cities grew rapidly thanks to the communities of the foreign merchants. Next up is Marco Polo, an inspiration for many Europeans as he narrated his travels. Next up is Ibn Battuta. Ibn Battuta served as a Moroccan Islamic scholar and poeta of the Sultan Delhi. New technology was spread by travelers and facilitated the trade, for example, of the magnetic compass. New crops
Brazilians such as the astrolabe, magnetic compass, and stern course rebel. Mariners also had great knowledge of winds and currents. A strategy used by Portuguese mariners was the volta de mar, which was used to avoid winds while sailing. Some important people that made voyages were Prince Henry of Portugal, who conquered the Moroccan part of Ceuta, Vasco da Gama, Ferdinand Magellan, Captain James Cook, who led 3 voyages to the Pacific, and Christopher Columbus, who thought he sailed to Asia when he first made landfall and tried to pull out the Caribbean. A few years later, there were many hemispheric links between the eastern and western hemispheres. The Portuguese made and controlled many trading posts, and the English and Dutch also made 2 powerful joint stock companies called East India Company and the United East India Company. There were many commercial rivalries, which of one is the 7 Years' War, which was fought by political businesses and ended in victory for Britain. The Columbian Exchange resulted in biological exchanges, epidemic diseases, American crops to the eastern hemisphere, population growth, and migration.
Hello, I'm Tina Fagila. English Reformation was sparked by King Henry VIII's desire for divorce. The current Roman Catholic Church did not allow divorce, which Christians call for new religious practice, Protestantism. This led to the Protestant Reformation. Another Reformation that occurred during this time period was the Catholic Reformation. The Council of Trent, or the Roman Catholic Church, met at Trent intermittently from 1545 to 1563, defined church doctrine and condemned the Reformation. By the mid-16th century, half the German people adopted Lutheran Christianity. During this time period, population increased due to various reasons. American food crops improved Europeans' nutrition and diet, and increased resistance to epidemic diseases. After the mid-17th century, helped maintain and improve population. Overall, the European population increased from 81 million to 180 million.
My name is Alma Ruano. The scientific revolution began in the 15th century. People like Galileo, whose theory of velocity of falling bodies anticipated the modern law of inertia, Isaac Newton, whose work symbolized a scientific revolution of direct observation and mathematical reasoning, Nicholas Copernicus suggested that the sun was the center of the universe. Johannes Kepler, who demonstrated planetary orbits to be elliptical, all took part in scientific enlightenment. In addition to the scientific revolution, the Enlightenment also took place during the 15th century. Enlightenment thinkers sought natural laws that govern human society in the same way that Newton's laws govern the universe.
Alright, we're done.
With the arrival of colonizing powers, the indigenous people in the Americas encountered disease and the land was exploited for cash crops, which also led to the European use of slaves being brought over as well. The The indigenous people of the Americas who had not developed immunity were devastated by the smallpox that was brought upon them, which actually helped the others colonize on their land. For example, smallpox aided the efforts of Hernan Cortes, who conquered Mexico, and Francisco Pizarro, who conquered Peru. Portuguese, Spaniards, and the British and the French were the colonizers of America. While there, the Spaniards created the encomienda system. Encomiendas were lands given to the Spanish. Okay. Portuguese, Spaniards, the British, and the French were the colonizers of the Americas. While there, the Spaniards created the encomienda system. Encomiendas were the land grants given to the Spanish settlers, which gave them control over local people and their labor. Furthermore, haciendas were the basis of Spanish-American production because they were plantations and mines in which labor was required. Over on the East Coast, with French and British colonies, settlements suffered from isolation after the Soviet years. Also, the settlements were in the way of migrations of the indigenous people, and they even seized over the land. Over in the Pacific with Australia, Dutch mariners initially landed on the west side, but had no interest in what it had to offer, which was not much. However, the British Captain James Cook landed on the east side in 1770, and in 1788, he established the first settlements there as a penal colony. Now let's talk about crops, more specifically cash crops. Cash crops such as tobacco, rice, indigo, sugar, and cotton caused growth in the use of indentured slaves. Since slavery was not prominent in the Americas, New England merchants had a part in the slave trade. The journey that was made for transporting slaves was the Middle Passage. However, many Africans died because the ships were overpopulated, causing a shortage of food, water, and more disease.
Hi, my name is Simi Fan, and we're talking about what happened in Africa in the Atlantic World. The Morocco Army occurred in 1591 because there was revolts of subject peoples which brought the empire down. As a result, they divided into small regional kingdoms and city-states. Vasco da Gama, a Portuguese explorer, forced the ruler of Quilla to pay tribute in 1502, and trade dispersed, causing prosperity to decline. In 1665, because of deteriorated relations, Congo was led to war, leaving the Congo king decapitated. In 1623 to 1663, Queen Nizia led civilian resistance to Portuguese and was able to block Portuguese advances and not expel them entirely. By the end of the 17th century, Nodo and the Portuguese colony of Islam became popular in West African states and Swahili city-states of East Africa, while Christianity reached the sub-Saharan Africa of Portuguese merchants. In Atlantic slave trade, where most slaves worked as cultivators, some as administrators, and soldiers, the early slave trade on the Atlantic occurred by the Portuguese in 1441. Triangular trade. All three of the legs of the trade was profitable. European goods traded for African slaves. Slaves traded in the Caribbean for sugar and molasses, and American produce traded in Europe. The impact was even. Some societies fared while some societies profited. Because most of the slaves were male, they forced the women to take on male duties in plantations. Cash crops were introduced in the fertile lands of the early 15th century. These cash crops included sugar, tobacco, rice, indigo, cotton, and coffee.
I'm doing the second. Okay, this is the social change. This is in Japan? Yeah. Alright, you're rolling? Alright, in Japan they experienced social change. After an extended period of peace undermined the social and economic role of warrior elites. Merchants became prominent, and often even wealthier than the ruling elites. Neo-Confucianism began to be promoted by the Tokugawa shoguns with emphasis on filial piety and loyalty to their superiors.
Well, I bet you didn't know that Neo-Confucianism provided a respectable ideological underprinting for the Bakufu, and even adopting a sense of formal education. By the early 18th century, Neo-Confucianism had become the official ideology of the Tokugawa Bakufu.
Enough about China. Towards the end of the 16th century, Japan's most powerful states emerged in a series of military leaders and brought unification. The Tokugawa established a military government known as Bakufu, a temporary replacement for the emperor's rule. Ieyasu and his descendants ruled the Bakufu as shoguns from 1600 until the end of the Tokugawa dynasty in 1867. The aim of Tokugawa shoguns was to stabilize their realms and prevent the return of civil war. but they needed to control the daimyo, who were powerful territorial lords who ruled most of Japan from their hereditary landholdings. But the daimyos functioned as their near absolute rulers within their domains, maintaining schools, an independent judiciary, and flow of currency. They even had established relationships with the European mariners from whom they learned how to manufacture and use gunpowder weapons, which created problems. Lots of problems. The shoguns had created... I already said that. Come on, dude. The shoguns created a series of policies in an attempt to control the daimyo. Alternate attendance. This required daimyo to retain their family at Edo and spend every other year at the Tokugawa court, allowing the shoguns to keep an eye on them and encourage them to spend their money on lavish residences and comfortable lives in Edo rather than investing money in military force that could challenge the Bakufu. The shoguns had also controlled the daimyo's foreign relations. This policy created in 1630 has prohibited the construction of large ships, foreign merchants, and trading in Japan and their port. Crazy, right? Let's go!
Yes, Japan is more.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, you guys, Sarah Verdahe here. The start of one of the first Islamic empires was the Ottoman Empire in 1289. It was started by Osman Bey, who led the Muslim religious warriors. Then the Ottoman Empire expanded to the Byzantine Empire. Later, Mehmed the Conqueror captured Constantinople in 1453 and renamed it Istanbul because, you know, he can. The new Ottoman capital became an absolute monarchy, and Suleiman the Magnificent was the last great sultan of the Ottoman Empire. He expanded the empire and created the strongest fleet to rival Europe's. The Safavid Empire was a large Islamic empire in the Persian Mesopotamian region. It was declined in the 16th century until Babur was the founder of the Mughal Empire. He seized Delhi and most of India and had to create his empire. The greatest ruler of this empire was Akbar. He was brilliant and charismatic. He created a centralized government and encouraged religious tolerance between the Hindus and the Muslims. And the emperors of Islam were all military creations. The authority of the dynasties derived from personal piety and military prowess of rulers. Devotion to Islam encouraged rulers to extend their faiths to new lands. The agriculture and trade of the Islamic empires basically was mainly wheat and rice, and the new American crops didn't impact their region as much. The imports of coffee and tobacco were very popular though.